Nigeria's Communication Minister Adebayo Shitu and the Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami failed to appear before the House of Representatives Committee probing the reduction in the 1.04 trillion naira fine against telecoms giant MTN.
Only the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Umar Dambata, honored the committee's invitation. Nevertheless, the committee says it will submit its report to the larger house before going into a closed-door meeting with the NCC team.
The Attorney General, who's obviously looking like a lead person in the negotiation, is not here. The Minister of Communication also is absent. Honorable members, your opinions on, I don't think NCC alone can be able to face, we're trying to come up with our own report and submit to the House then. That's it. Obviously, we've had all written submissions from all parties, and NCC have forwarded their submissions to us. I would believe they should be because they are the regulators.
All right, we're joined now by the Zonal Controller, Nigerian Communications Commission, Lagos, OKECHUKWU, ANINWEKE. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. Who am I speaking with? Is it Ngozi today again?
Yes, it is. And Busolami is here.
Ngozi. Bukolami, how are you doing? Where is Ike, Ngozi?
They're all doing well. Everybody is doing well in the house here. Okay, so now the Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu, was absent at this hearing that was called by House of Reps, and of course the EVC of, well, only the NCC actually was represented. Is this a clear, case of it's a done deal with the MTN? They're only going to pay 300 billion naira, which is what they say they can pay out of the 780 billion naira fine.
What did you say? Did you say is it a done deal?
Is it a done deal? Yes.
Well, yes, that's what it seems as far as the government and the NCC is concerned. And I am sure that within a very short time, after certain clarifications would have been clearly made, the House and the Senate, as the National Assembly, will equally be carried along in that process. And they didn't pay 300 million. Now, neither did they pay what they said they were going to pay. We need to correct those impressions. They paid what the government negotiated and accepted to accept from them. I hope you get the point I'm trying to make, because it looks like what we get in the news is that they're dictating to Nigeria, they're not dictating to anybody. They're just pleading and imploring Nigerian government and this responsible and the relevant agencies to accept what they were prepared to offer. Remember, initially they offered $250 million only. You remember, if you were following. And at the end of the day, the Nigerian government, heavily represented by the various agencies and ministries and ministers, put it up to 330 billion naira. Ngozi, are you hearing me?
I'm with you.
It is 330 billion naira at the last exchange rate. Not this one that they started 2 days ago, or was it yes on Monday? It was at the last exchange rate that we negotiated at 330 billion naira, which is actually $1.67 billion.
All right, so Mr. ANINWEKE. Mr. ANINWEKE, my name is Busolami, and I'm asking you the next question now. And according to your NCC Act 2007, where you have Section 4, the fourth schedule, do you have the right to make this reduction?
Yes, I didn't get the section you quoted, but in certain other sections of the Act, certain of the Commission, and as well as the regulation that regulated the SIM card registration process, the Commission has certain rights to actually enter into final decisions pertaining whatever decision it may have entered into before. and you know that the government at the highest level of the presidency and the ministries of communication and justice got involved because we do not have a board of commissioners as at this time, because that exclusive right was actually reserved at the preserve of the board's commissioners. Are you hearing me?
Yes, very much so, very loud and clear.
What has happened is actually, as it pertains to both the rules and regulations of the NCC that set up the SIM card registration process, where the fine actually came out from, as well as the acts setting up the NCC, we are reserved with certain rights and privileges to re-evaluate or reassess whatever decisions we have taken in terms of the best industry practices and the best standards, globally, because as you know, we are very strong members of the ITU, and the ITU has standards of processes and procedures that pertain and relate to all of this. So that is what has happened.
Okay, now, in the whole picture of, negotiating this deal with the MTN, the telecoms giant, the NCC, for some reason, was not part of those deals where the Attorney General was present, and of course, Debayo Shitu. Who decided? Hold on a second, Mr. OKECHUKWU. Who decided this new figure of 330 billion naira, for the MTN to pay instead of the 780 billion? And is it really in the interest of Nigeria?
Hello, are you still there?
We can hear you, sir.
You say who decided, and is it what?
Yes, who decided this figure, 330 billion, according to you, that the MTN is to pay? And is it in the interest of Nigeria?
Is it what of Nigeria?
Is it in the interest of Nigeria? What are the factors that, made you decide on this figure if the NCC truly decided this figure?
Let us start from number one. Who decided? It was decided by the NCC as well as the other relevant agencies of government or ministries that have to come into play, because, like I said before, Ngozi and Busolam, isn't it?
Yes.
We don't have a board of commissioners right now, or what is called board of directors on the ordinary balance. So if we don't have a board of commissioners, our decisions, executive decisions, have to be properly authenticated by our parent ministry, which is the Ministry of Communications, under the ministership of Barrister Debayo Shitu. And because Barrister Debayo Shitu is an appointee of the president, the presidency necessarily and naturally has to be involved. And because it involves a lot of laws and regulations and interpretations thereof, the Ministry of Justice needed to be involved. So the right agencies of the government were duly involved in the entire process for most of the time. And at the end of the day, whatever decision came out was an amalgamation of the proper articulations of the various agencies that are supposed to be concerned in the process. And the NCC was right in the front of it finally.
And the other question I asked you, Mr. ANINWEKE, yes,
let me take the second one first. If you are talking about the interest of Nigerians, where does the interest of Nigerians lie? Is it in the cessation of service by the dominant operator? Is it in the exclusive removal of the services, the high class and the worthy telecommunication services that are provided by the various networks on the national network, especially led by the MTN? Because all of you know that the MTN is dominant operator in this market.
Yes. Mr. ANINWEKE.
So if you are saying that you are not going to be able to negotiate properly with them to make sure that every kind of considerations are made to ensure that whatever tradition is raised finally will be win-win for all the parties concerned, and then you let MTN go off business.
Okay, we want to give more information, but just before that, just let me just quickly ask you this question. the House is against it, the Senate is against it, that the Nigerian people are being shortchanged. And this, to some people's mind, will corroborate allegations that the NCC will rather work with the operators of the telecoms than protect the interests of the Nigerian masses.
Now, Busolami, you asked the question, isn't it?
Yes.
First of all, listen carefully. The National Assembly is not against it. They are not against the negotiations. They are not against the reduction. So to say, you need to listen to them very carefully. What they seem to be complaining about is the process. They want the process to be. They want to be part of the process to ensure its transparency.
No, but when you say that, the House of Reps have actually come out strongly to say that the MTN must pay in full.
Must pay in full. Why the reduction? The Senate actually have a quote here. I may not have time to go into that. I mean, expressing their displeasure about the reduction.
Listen. What I'm trying to say is that if you read very well in between the lines, their major grounds is that they needed to be very much carried along in the process. They were investigating the process of the negotiations and were waiting to actually make certain relevant inputs as far as they are concerned into the final decision. And mind you, this is National Assembly, that are representative of the people, and that means that are representing you and me.
And the representatives of the people say that this is not. If you agree, Mr. ANINWEKE, that these are representatives of the people, if you do agree that they are representing the interest of the people, and they say that this particular decision is not in the interest of Nigerians, where does that leave us? Is the NCC and all other agencies that you say were part of this decision working against the interest of Nigerians?
That's what they said. What they said is that they needed to be carried along in the process. They want to ensure the transparency of the process.
That is one. Transparency of the process is one of the issues they have with it. They need to also understand the modalities, and they need to understand, based on the exchange rate that was used then to calculate this fine, why would you not do that? Like, you, based on that exchange rate, now what you have done is kind of shortchanging the Nigerian people and the Nigerian economy based on the cash crunch that we have presently.
Busola, are you listening now? And you need to actually let me make my points if you want us to have a proper conversation.
Go ahead.
Are you listening, Busola?
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to tell you is that there are major grounds, among other things, because this is a National Assembly that's peopled by different categories and spectrum of individuals with different feelings. However, the collective understanding of their major grounds is that they needed to be carried along in the process, and that they needed some further clarifications from their last meeting with the NCC and representatives of the ministries, like you said, that is going to happen. Because like I was saying before, these are representatives of the people of Nigeria, and they have a right to do their duties. You know, we are operating a concern of separation of powers. The executive have to do its duties like we are doing from the NCC, and the legislature have to do their own duties.
Okay, now, Mr. ANINWEKE, hold on a second.
Whatever point edition is taken by any of the other categories.
Your points are very well taken. Now, before we give further background to this story, in the event that it happens that other telecoms providers do the same thing that the MTN has done, not that we have anything against the MTN, how would the NCC, ensure that these other telecoms companies actually do pay their fines with the precedent that has been set with the MTN?
I want to tell you that the president that has been set with the MTN is the best and the most proper president that can be set in this situation. First and foremost, before I answer your question directly, note that we are operating in an industry that is international and has international standards, like I told you, as far as the ITU is concerned, which is the UN arm that is governing telecommunications and even broadcasting worldwide. So whatever president has been said, we are talking about high-wire blue-chip investments, high-level capital-intensive investments. And these things have to be considered if you want to make a proper decision, and I will set a proper precedent. And that precedent has been properly set. Now, if anybody in the future breaches or violates any of the regulations that were set for whatever kind of process that they have been going on as at that time, definitely the rules will apply, like they did apply in these particular circumstances. And if after the application of the rules or the regulations, certain other considerations needed to be done as has been done in this particular case at the highest levels of government, at the highest levels of the regulatory authority, which is the NCC, the same process will still apply. The rules are there to protect the process.
All right, OKECHUKWU and ANINWEKE, just hold on for us. Let's give our viewers that background that we've promised. Now, in August 2015, the Nigerian Communications Commission, the NCC, and securities agencies carried out a compliance audit on all of the mobile network operators in the country. Now, the report of the audit revealed that 5.2 million MTN customer lines were improperly registered.
From an initial 1.4 trillion naira, which was imposed on South African mobile phone firm MTN by the NCC, the telecommunication company is now billed to pay 330 billion naira, which has to be paid in 6 tranches within the next 3 years. That's about a whopping 67% reduction from what was initially fined. So MTN will be paying just the 3% of the initial value of the fine under terms of agreement, which also discounted the initial 50 billion naira earlier paid by the company to the government. That was paid to the CBN's account.
Yes, the 50 billion naira good faith payout. Now, MTN was fined for failing to deactivate the unregistered and improperly registered SIM cards on its network. But reprieve came after 8 months of engaging with the regulator. The fine was imposed amid fears that militants were using the phone lines.
Under the terms of agreement, MTN Nigeria will now be listed on the Nigeria Stock Exchange, including the telecom giant paying 30 billion into NCC's Treasury single account with the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, 30 days from the date of the agreement dated June 10, 2016.
Now, other payments dates include March the 31st, 2017. MTN is expected to pay 30 billion naira. March the 31st, 2018, 55 billion naira. December the 31st, 2018, 55 billion naira. March the 31st, 2019, 55 billion naira. And the balance will be on May 31st, 2019, and that will be 55 billion naira also.
Okay, so because we look at the financial statement of MTN Nigeria show that in 2015, the company recorded a profit after tax of 190 billion naira as of December the 31st, 2015.
And with the new business model, analysts are of the opinion that MTN could recoup monies lost to fines within the shortest time possible.
After all, you call them telecom giants. It's telecoms giants.
Yes,
they are giants.
Now, back to you, Mr. ANINWEKE. You did talk about the need to apply international standards here. Now, the NCC gave all operators across board enough time to comply with the SIM and directive, that SIM card directive, since July 2013. Of course, the NCC did play, by the rules. Now, Regulations 19 and 20, Section 15.2 of the Registration of Subscriber Regulations Act 2011. Indeed, the NCC has acted in line with international standards. But would you say that MTN has done the same?
That MTN did what?
Would you say that the MTN has, abided by the rules and done according to...
Are you talking in terms of their inability to deactivate or their ability to pay the fines?
Their failure to deactivate according to NCC regulations.
That's the question you have already answered. They actually violated the regulation at that point in time. So they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And then the fine is kicked in. The penalty is kicked in. But I need to make a little clarification before we go further.
Go ahead.
Mind you, when those regulations were set, nobody nobody was expecting anybody to violate it. Because that was why, are you listening? Are you listening?
Yes, we are.
The fine was set as high as it is at 200,000 per sin. And even if anybody has any reason to violate, that network needed to count the number of sins that were involved. So what I'm trying to say in essence that there was no time the regulation was set to catch people to make revenue, or it was not a revenue generation effort. It was just set there to deter people from even violating it or breaching that particular aspect of the regulation. As far as the SIM card process, registration process was concerned. So you need to understand where we are coming from. And now we are talking about 330 billion, and somebody is saying that Nigerians have been shortchanged. When you were operating from the point of zero, let us make some very reasonable, sensible calculations and deductions in this case. The NCC, when the fine was set, ab initio from 2011 to the point the time the fine was imposed as a result of the failure of NCC to MTN to obey the rules, we are not expecting even zero cover.
Okay, so what you're saying in effect is that this is a case of half bread is better than none. Is that what it is?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what we have done represents a manifest determined regulatory process and an agency that is well set up to ensure that these rules are obeyed. Because they are talking about 330 billion, 50 billion of which has been paid.
All right.
You were set to zero naira and got zero. I mean, let's please, how much was the license that was sold to MTN? The license that was sold that made worldwide remarkable headlines was
all right.
$205 million.
Okay. Mr. ANINWEKE, I don't know if you can hear us. Let's sneak in one more question if you can hear us. And by the way, the Deputy Telecommunication Committee Chairman of the House, OKECHUKWU Emeka Uja, made that statement that Nigerians have been shortchanged, just in case you want to take that up with him. But there are threats. Excuse me, please. There are threats that if when the Senate calls and perhaps when the National Assembly calls again, and there's no representation from the Ministry of Communication and the Minister of Communication, the NCC, and those calls, that the 2016 budget allotted to NCC and the Ministry of Communication.
I cannot speak for the ministries because I do not work there. I am sure that the NCC, like it did before, will be duly and properly represented at any time we are called upon to come and defend our actions, which we are sure went through the best and the most remarkable, transparent, and very assured processes as far as our organization is concerned. But I do not have any doubt that the Minister of Communication will be there. I do not also have any doubt except is indisposed by any means, and we are all children of God, so anything can happen as far as our health and the dispositions are concerned.
All right.
Okay. The man of who is the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, will be at the next hearing if he's not indisposed. So what I'm trying to tell you is that because the
all right, Mr. ANINWEKE. OKECHUKWU.
That were involved, they are going to answer their calls whenever they are called upon.
Okay. All right, it's good to know that.
The House of Assembly and the Senate is that if they don't appear, that their budget will be slashed or perhaps even taken away. So
indeed. Okay. Thank you so much, OKECHUKWU ANINWEKE of the NCC, representing, of course, talking to us on behalf of the NCC right here in Lagos. It's been nice talking with you, and we hope for the best. Thank you so much.